Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're tackling a huge one, an idea that has fascinated people for thousands of years: reincarnation, or what you might call the eternal return.
So let's just jump right in with a question. A big one. What if this life you're living right now isn't the whole story? What if it's just one chapter in a much, much longer book? That's really the core question behind this whole idea of reincarnation.
So what are we actually talking about here? Well, at its heart, reincarnation is the belief that some essential part of you can call it your soul, your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, doesn't just end when you die. Instead, it gets reborn into a new body to continue its journey.
Okay, so where did an idea this huge even come from? What's really wild is that it wasn't just one culture's brainchild. It seems to have popped up all on its own in both the East and the West, right around the same time in history. Our first stop is ancient India. This is where we see the concept of samsara, that endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, first get written down in these incredible sacred texts called Upanishads. This was a totally revolutionary idea that would go on to shape Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism.
Now here's where it gets super interesting. While these three religions all agree on the cycle of rebirth, they have some pretty major disagreements on a key question. What is it that's actually being reborn? As you can see, for Hindus, it's the atman, an eternal, unchanging soul. But for Buddhists, there's this idea of no self, or anatta. It's not a fixed thing, but more like a continuous stream of consciousness. And for Jains, the soul, or jiva, literally gets weighed down by karmic particles. These aren't just little details, you guys. We're talking about fundamentally different ways of seeing what a person even is.
Okay, get this. While all of this is unfolding in India, you've got philosophers in ancient Greece, we're talking thousands of miles away, who are wrestling with the exact same idea. They had their own name for it: metempsychosis, the transmigration of the soul.
And this wasn't some fringe concept. I mean, listen to this quote from Socrates, as written down by his student Plato. It shows you just how seriously they took it. Plato was so into it, he even wrote this whole story called the myth of which describes how souls get judged and then choose their next life. Pretty amazing stuff.
All right, so we've got India and Greece. But the story doesn't stop there. Not even close. This idea went on a world tour, popping up in some really unexpected places and taking on all kinds of unique local flavors.
I mean, take the Celtic Druids. Julius Caesar himself wrote that they taught this stuff to make their warriors brave. Which makes sense, right? If you believe you're coming back, what's there to fear? Then you jump over to the Middle East, where the Druze faith believes that a soul is reborn instantly. And in some mystical Jewish traditions, the idea of Gilgal suggests that souls keep coming back until they've nailed all 613 commandments in the Torah. It really is a global idea.
So with all these roots, why did it kind of disappear in the West? Well, for centuries, it really fell off the map, especially as religions with a one-life, one-judgment framework took hold. But then, the 19th century happened, and it came roaring back.
Yeah, the 19th century was the real game changer. All of a sudden, translations of ancient Eastern texts started showing up in the West, and thinkers like the American Transcendentalists were just blown away. Then you had groups like the Theosophical Society who kind of packaged these ideas for a mainstream audience. It just snowballed from there, eventually weaving its way into psychology with people like Carl Jung and becoming a huge part of the New Age movements we still see today.
And that comeback? It really stuck. Now, you might think this is still some kind of niche Eastern belief in the West, but you'd be wrong. The numbers might actually surprise you. Look at this. About 1 in 5 people in the US and Europe believe in it. And then you have a place like Lithuania where it's almost half the population. That's incredible. It totally shatters the idea that this is just an Eastern thing.
Okay, so when a belief becomes this widespread, you know what question comes next, right? Has anyone ever tried to, scientifically investigate these claims? Well, the answer is yes. But, oh boy, is it a controversial field.
So, modern inquiry has basically gone down two completely different roads. On one side, you've got the really meticulous academic work of a psychiatrist named Dr. Ian Stevenson. He spent decades documenting thousands of cases of young kids who just started talking about past lives, and he tried to match their stories to real people. And then, on the other side, you've got the much more famous past life regression therapy, which uses hypnosis. And this is where most scientists pump the brakes, because it's so easy to accidentally plant memories when someone is that suggestible. Of course, for every claim, there's a counter-explanation from the skeptical side. And they've got some pretty powerful ones. There's something called Cryptomnesia. That's when you remember something you read or heard a long time ago but forget where it came from, so you think it's your own memory. Then there's confabulation. Our brains are amazing storytellers. They hate gaps, so they just make stuff up to fill them in, especially under hypnosis. And you can't discount cultural influence or just plain old coincidence.
So where does that leave us? You know? Whether you believe reincarnation is the literal truth, a beautiful metaphor, or just a psychological comfort, you can't deny how powerful the idea is. It taps into this deep human hope for justice, for a sense of purpose, and maybe just for more time to get it right. It really makes you think, doesn't it? If you knew for a fact you were coming back, how would that change the way you live your life right now?